Hello, everybody. Or I should say hello, hi, and welcome to Machtails from the Cantina live, episode number 13. We've done a lot of shows that are unofficial, right? This is the unofficial. This one is the official Patreon name draw episode. So I got to thank all my Patreon members. Happy brew year to you guys. I am going to be drinking a beer called This Is the Wheat from Forest Park, Illinois, 7700 Brewing, I believe, is the name of the brewery. But today's show is going to focus on all things Mandalorian. Cheers to you guys. Thank you so much for joining on a Saturday. My energy might seem a little off to you because I am at the tail end from a long week. I tested positive last Sunday. I was probably sick a couple days beforehand. So just starting to get back into the swing of things. I'm going to introduce a new Patreon member, show producer, Todd, and I'm going to have him pronounce his name for me when he joins the show. I do have the tins. The tins, yes, these are the Patreon names in here. So stick around. I'm going to do the name draw at the end of the show. You get a chance to win a prize. This show is for 21 and over. Please drink responsibly. You know, we like to drink our beer and wine and bourbon and anything else on Machtails from the Cantina. Every time you hear this word tonight, please drink along with us. The word today is Mando. Mando. Speaking about Mando, my guest tonight is my old friend, Sean Hynes. Going on, 22 years now? Been friends with this guy? He's the founder of Mandalorian Mashups. I really wanted to talk to him about the Book of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, how he feels about these new live TV shows. I'm going to share with him what I like, what I want to see, maybe things that I dislike. But without further ado, I want to bring on Tyler. I got a question from my brother, Tyler. You know, Tyler works hard on this show. He produces the images for us. He's the man behind the scenes. Tyler, thank you again, brother, for not only your support and your friendship, but for your time on the live shows as always. What are you drinking tonight, man?
Cheers, man. This is a Leinenkugel chocolate dunkel. So it's
dessert.
It's like a dark lager, yeah.
Yeah, so. Perfect time for this weather that is the complete opposite of Hawaii. This is kind of hawk-like, right?
Yeah, you were spoiled over there, man. 3 weeks.
I was 3 weeks of nothing but aloha, fun, and goodness, you know. And man, did I get the wake-up call coming back to work and testing positive with you know, just feeling like shit, you know.
Yeah.
But it's good to be coming out of it. For those of you guys that have gotten sick, I hope you came out of it okay. So many people have gotten sick, and it's such a bad thing to go through. Hard to believe we're going to celebrate the 2-year anniversary. Well, we're not going to celebrate, but we're going to acknowledge 2 years of that pretty much from today. You know, this show started, Tyler, as you know, because of the pandemic, and I was looking to do something creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are now, you know. Did you know today is the 34th live show that we've done?
No, I did not.
It's technically it's the show number 13 being organized, but all the music stuff we've done, all the holiday stuff, all the baseball stuff.
Feels like more. Feels like more.
Yeah, to you, I'm sure, man, because I know you spend a lot of time and energy working on this show, and I can't thank you enough for that. I do have one question before I bring on the new show producer. Any New Year's resolutions this year?
I don't believe in resolutions. You know, I just sort of go through life, and you gotta be flexible with what you're doing, how you're treating yourself, and your outlook. So
amen to that,
not
man.
really.
I don't believe that you need to wait until January to make the change.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you said. You go through life, pay attention to what's going on around you, what changes that you need to make, and make them accordingly.
Exactly.
I'm the same way, man. I don't believe in resolutions. I might have a couple Star Wars goals this year that I want to do, such as, finishing the Real Fans of the Saga once and for all.
That's got to be top of the list.
It's got to be the top of the list, right? And of course, keeping up with the Patreon content for all you Patreon members, including yourself. So, hey, Tyler, thanks again for doing all the work behind the scenes. I would love to bring on my new friend and Patreon supporter, along with Michael Wistock and Kurt Holman. Would you guys please give a nice warm welcome? This is not a live audience because I got sick. It was supposed to be a live audience, but maybe next month, show number 14. Todd Sedlacek. And Todd, I'm going to have you pronounce your last name for me.
Todd Sedlacek.
Sedlacek.
Yeah,
why do
Sedlacek.
I want to say Lasek? Maybe the C is throwing me off.
Yeah. No, it's actually the E that throws people off. For 50 years, I've heard Sedlacek, and for some reason we pronounce it Sedlak. So it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. I've heard it a lot worse ways over the years. So.
Well, I'm glad I'm not at the bottom of the list for the mispronunciation, and I was.
Well, you're in good company, because Jimmy Mack completely butchered my name the first 3 or 4 times he said it on the Babu Freak. So it's all good.
You mentioned it now. I participated in the Babu Freaks in the past. Are you an official Babu Freak, or are you a regular Babu Freak? Where do you fit into the whole RFR Patreon Babu Freak exclusive?
Well, I am trying to crowbar my way in there. Tyler can probably attest to that. But no, I'm a friend. Let's say I'm a friend of the show.
Yeah, and you're a friend of Jimmy's. You before we went live, you said that you've known him for a long, long time, just being a big fan of radio and Jimmy, as you guys know. And if you don't know Jimmy Mack, you guys must be living under a rock, especially if you're watching Machtails from the Cantina.
Yeah, how can you not know who Jimmy Mack is?
Exactly. Well, Todd, you won't have to crowbar your way onto this show, because you are now a producer. We are going to be seeing you as much as your time allows you. And I want to go through, this is kind of a borrowed concept from one of my main inspirations when it comes to being a show host. I'm a huge fan of Stephen Colbert. Love him or hate him. I'm a big fan of his. He does the Colbert questionnaire. So this was inspired by him. I'm also inspired by Andy Cohen. Obviously, there's a whole backstory with him and the Real Fans of the Saga. But this is what I'm going to call the Mocktails from the Cantina Mind Probe Questionnaire. Now, this is for people to get a chance to know you, right off the get-go. And for those people like Tyler that knows you, hopefully he'll feel like he knows you even a little bit more. So are you ready for the Mind Probe Questionnaire?
It sounds, yes.
Okay. I like your enthusiasm. We're off to a good start. All right, the first one. Are all your Christmas decorations taken down at this point?
Yes, they are. We took them down before New Year's. We're pretty quick about it. Yeah. My wife, we put up 6 trees in the house, and we de-Christmasified the house before New Year's, because I was actually going out of town for business. So there was a pretty big push to get that done. But we love Christmas in this house. Not quite as much as, we're not quite as decorative as you are in your house, but we do our part.
Well, I got to tell you, man, we are hitting it off, and we already have something in common there. You have 6 trees in your house. That is a good handful of Christmas trees, and I can relate to you with that, because I went to Hawaii 2 days after Christmas, and didn't get a chance to tear it all down. It's still up, actually. Half of it's still up right now, this late. But I can't take the real tree down because I spent 3 weeks in the beautiful state of Hawaii. Okay, now you mentioned your wife. Before I ask a question that pertains to her, do you collect? Do you collect Star Wars?
Yes, I do. For a while, I didn't collect just because I don't know why. I was just more focused on the content. But with the pandemic, I started collecting again, and really kind of focusing my collection in a couple of limited areas. One of them being Funko Pops, which you can see over my shoulders here. I've got some sideshow statues. You can see the Darth Sidious mythos and the Grogu life size. I'm sorry, sweet baby Yoda life size. And I've got some Black Series helmets. I've got the Darth Vader, First Order Stormtrooper, Mando, and the Boba Fett rearmored one that was just released.
So a lot of nice high-end pieces now. Like my Christmas tree obsession, my Star Wars collection exceeds that. My wife believes that I have some hoarder-like tendencies because of my level of collecting. Does your wife feel that way about you? That you have hoarder-like tendencies, or you're not that?
No. In fact, she's an enabler. She the Darth Sidious statue she bought was a Christmas present. I think I got like 8 or 10 Funkos, Star Wars Funkos for Christmas. So she's a good supporter of my habit, and she was the one that said you need to get the Baby Yoda because she fell in love with Baby Yoda when we would watch The Mandalorian together. But I don't know how much I'm going to get her to watch season 3 because it's not looking like he's going to be on the show too much. So, and she says if there's no Baby Yoda, I'm out.
Yeah, you know what? I have a feeling that she is not alone, and a lot of people fell in love with that character. Some people might think, especially my guest tonight later on in the show, that there was a mass overproduction of Grogu items. But I mean, if he's selling the show and selling the merch, have at it, because I feel like there's a couple peg warmers that came out from the Mandalorian that are still sitting on the shelves. And
well, I was just in the store tonight and or today earlier, and I think I counted like 8 Moff Gideons of all, which I think is one of the coolest characters in the new Star Wars that Lucasfilm has been putting out post Disney purchase, just because. And I love Giancarlo Esposito as an actor. His deadpan, just blank evil way it's chilling sometimes.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal actor. I just mentioned on a new Patreon exclusive podcast that he is in the Forrest Whitaker flick, Godfather of Harlem, and man, he's just a phenomenal actor.
I think he was nominated for some Golden Globes for that too.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Here's a question, either or question for you,
Okay.
and pertains exactly to what we're talking about here: Book of Boba Fett or The Mandalorian?
While I enjoy the Book of Boba Fett, and I've been having a lot of fun with it, I gotta say The Mandalorian, because simply because there's just seems so much more world building post Return of the Jedi that they're doing and that they have yet to do, that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things to look forward to right around the corner for sure. Favorite Star Wars film of all time, and I'm going to make this really hard for you. You can only pick one. Your ultimate number one go to.
I know a lot of people say The Empire Strikes Back, and I don't want to be cliche and say Empire Strikes Back, but I have to say the Empire Strikes Back, because it's I know that was a long road to get there, but
I thought you were going to say, but A New Hope is my number one Star Wars movie.
Well, it's hard. You told me that I could only pick one, and it's hard to pick just one. I would have to say that right behind it is A New Hope, and then Revenge of the Sith. But if I have to pick a number one, it has to be The Empire Strikes Back, just because I remember when it first came out. Granted, I was only 9 years old, and I saw it in the theaters when it was on its original release. I just remember being before the prequels and everything, that moment when Vader revealed to Luke his lineage, that in fact Darth Vader used to be Anakin Skywalker and was his father. I remember being in the theater and the collective just gasp of surprise when he said that line. It's being 50 years old, you don't remember too much from your childhood, but that's one of the moments that I remember, is when he said that line, and a collective gasp, and then it was just dead silent in the theater.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. My aside from Rogue One, Empire Strikes Back is my favorite film. And I remember seeing that in the theater as a kid, but as 5 years old, I was 5 when that came out. I did not comprehend the whole Vader being, his dad until much later on in life. But when I was laying in bed for 4 days, feeling like crap from testing positive, I was watching a lot of YouTube footage from opening night of Empire Strikes Back, and it was interesting listening to crowd reaction, because they were talking about the ending without giving it away.
Right.
And some people were very, very disappointed in it. Some people would have preferred a different ending. So, and these are people that were probably in their late teens, early 20s. It's very interesting, but I love YouTube because it's a library. It's a video library of our past,
Right.
especially when it comes to Star Wars stuff. Without getting into the details about this next question, what is your least favorite Star Wars film? And I know least is a negative word, right? So,
yeah.
But the one that you're like, you know what? Yeah, I still like it, but I'm going to watch all the other films instead of this one.
I have to say Solo. And it's not because of the subject matter or the pacing of the film or anything. It was like the battle for Winterfell in season 8 of Game of Thrones. The way it was shot, it was so dark.
Yeah, it's so dark. Yes.
It was very tough to see a lot of what was going on the screen, and it made it hard to enjoy. And even when I watch it 4K streaming here on my TV here in my room, it's still hard to see a lot of things. And while I remember kind of doing when I saw Darth Maul be revealed at the end of the film, because I hadn't watched up that far in the Clone Wars series yet to see that Darth Maul was revived. my memory of that was very spotty. So I was like, oh my God, Darth Maul is still around. And but when I look back on it, and I've heard this criticism from other fans, that his appearance there just seemed kind of was tacked on,
Yeah, right. Just to bring him in, show him
Mm-hmm.
that he's alive, kind of more, like let's revive him so we can bring him into to other projects. Again, man, you and I have a lot in common. Adding on, Solo is my least favorite film. I got three more questions, and then we'll pick up a part 2 on the next live episode with you. But I
Okay.
know you said you were a big fan of radio. That's how you got to know Jimmy Mack. What was the first concert that you ever saw? First concert you ever saw?
Rainbow.
Rainbow, yes. With
You remember the group Richie Blackmore?
yeah. Well, now was Dio in the band at the time?
You know what? I don't remember because I was so young, and the reason I was at the concert, being a young man of, geez, I want to say I was like 7 or 8 years old. My father used to have a licensing business where he did posters, buttons, T-shirts for rock stars, bands, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
You have a collection of that stuff too?
no, not anymore.
Oh, no.
Not anymore.
You sold it all on eBay, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Especially the big. So that's why I was at that show. Our big license back. This was back before Michael Jackson was Michael Jackson. He was just fresh out of the Jackson 5 when he did the Billie Jean and then the Thriller album. That was the big license they'd made, a bunch of money, but then reinvested it all into when Michael Jackson went for did the Bad album, and he came out with that look, and it did not land with the fans. So it's funny that every time I hear talk on RFR and other shows about the licensing around Star Wars, I kind of think back to that time, because back in the original trilogy days, when the movies were first released, as a practice in general, licensing was not a thing with movie properties, and really Star Wars is the first one that really just kind of made it explode.
Yeah, for sure. They kind of changed what was to come. What was to come after that? A lot of my Patreon members, they do love to partake. Like I said, I'm drinking. This is the wheat. I have to ask you, Todd, what is your drink of choice? What is your drink of choice?
Well, tonight it is Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale. I like beer and I like whiskey, but I tend to gravitate towards beer. And lately, I've been getting into bourbon barrel aged beers, because it adds a nice, smooth texture to the brew. So,
are you a fan of bourbon at all?
Yeah.
What's your? It's hard to answer this, right? Because you're pretty geeky about bourbon. But what's
so you can do bourbon, whiskey, Scott. I like. It just for that, it really depends on the mood I'm in. If I'm just kicking back and looking to just get the warmth in my cheeks, maybe maybe just like a sip of Macallan or something like that. But I really, my main focus is the beer.
I'm sitting here. I just opened another beer. This is a place I've been to with Tyler. This is a double dry hopped IPA from Old Irving Brewing, and I have not had a beer in a week because of testing positive. And I feel like I love this beer, but I do feel like my taste
Mhm.
has been diminished slightly. So hopefully that comes back. I've been eating like a pig though all week, so I have not lost my appetite. My last question to you before we let you go, and we will see you on the next episode for sure. New Year's resolution. Tyler shared with us he's not a resolution guy. How about for you? Any New Year's resolutions this year?
I'm in the camp with Tyler. I try not to make resolutions because so often people just kind of abandon them so very quickly if times get if it gets a little tough to follow it. So I try to just be a better person all year round rather than just the first 20 or 30 days
Yeah,
after the
right.
new year.
And then burn out from it. Well, hey, Todd, I want to thank you again, man. Thank you again for not only becoming a Patreon member and a producer, but thank you for your time on the show tonight, man. We look forward to hearing more from you and picking up our Mind Probe questionnaire part 2 on the next episode. So, hey, you have a good weekend, man, and we'll see you with the Galloping Ghost next Friday.
All right. See you next Friday,
All right.
brother.
Cheers, man. Cheers, brother. Well, without further ado, I would love to bring on my guest who's been patiently waiting in the green room, my old friend, Sean Hynes. Sean, how are you doing, my brother? You look like you're going to fall asleep there.
Greetings and salutations, brother man.
You
I
staying
got my,
warm?
this is my Boba Build-A-Bear. I figured I was gonna probably need some comfort, whoopee, security blankets, something or other here, because I know sometimes having an opinion on Star Wars can get you some pretty severe backlash. So I figure I just prepared myself ahead of time.
Hey, no worries, man. Hey, you know what, Sean? It's a little appropriate that you're the first guest of the year because tomorrow we are celebrating Machtails from the Cantina 1 year anniversary. We did our first live show, but you were not. I did that solo. You were the first guest on the show, but that was episode 2, which happened in February. So thank you, man, for taking time out of your day today. And then joining me. I know you never say no to me, man. I know you never say
Rock and roll cola, baby. You know how I do it. After a long day of slinging cable in the snow, what better way to cap it off than with a chat with my buddy Chris?
Exactly. Hey, now to kind of keep a perfect segue, how about you, man? New Year's resolutions? Are you a New Year's resolution guy?
I think about them on New Year's Eve and then immediately forget about them at about 12:01 New Year's Day. So, because if I kept my resolutions, I wouldn't have my Buddha belly today.
So I like that. You forget at 12:01, you're like, okay, you know what? I thought about it, but I'm not even going to venture down that hard.
Yeah. The moment of sitting down and pen meeting paper regarding resolutions is not a thing that happens.
Well, Sean, the reason why I wanted you on the show today is not only do I like you as the first, because you were the first one that we filmed in The Force Among Us, first one that we filmed in The Force Within Us. You're part of the real fans of the saga. We shot you on that first day. You're a first of many. First on this show.
That's because I'm your good luck charm, right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You always send us off in the right direction. But the reason why, because Sean, when I think of Boba Fett, it is hard not to think of you first and foremost. And this is not a trend with you. This is not a trendy thing for you to do. You're not on a bandwagon like a lot of people.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I was Fett before Fett was cool. Come on now.
You were Fett before Fett was cool. Now, because there is nobody in my world that I was more curious talking to about the Book of Boba Fett, because I feel like the fan base has just been so negative since the sequels came to be. I feel like social media is just pumping out negativity after negativity. And, of course, there's defenders of this, defenders of that. I felt like I was a defender of the Book of Boba Fett. But I wanted to ask you, man, how did you feel about it before episode 5? Because I know that changed the haters. point of view. And I think the people that really loved the Book of Boba Fett were like, hey, man, why am I watching an episode of The Mandalorian right now? But what was your initial reaction to the book, episode 1 and then kind of up through the first 3 episodes?
Okay. Well, as you know, like you said, you think of Fett, you had to think of me, and rightfully so. My house is filled with Fett stuff to the level of some people may call it a fetish, but we don't want, but not to that. Well, maybe a little bit of that level, but we'll talk. That's the conversation between me and the missus. So, leading up to the Book of Boba Fett, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, come on, this is my guy. This is the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy. 40 years running, waiting for this guy to get in the spotlight and have his own TV show, movie, whatever it was. After we saw him in season 2 of The Mandalorian, just laying waste to that troop of stormtroopers, it was like, yes, the Boba's time has arrived. And episode 1 starts off, boom, we get right into it. He's escaping the Sarlacc. Yes, been waiting 40 years to see that scene. And it's over in like 5 seconds.
Now, there was a lot of hype to that. It sounds like you've been waiting 40 years for that.
Oh, man, I have been dying for this. Dying for this show.
So, because episode 1 was great, but I felt like it could have been better if all that hype wasn't behind it.
There was no way this show wasn't going to have all that hype behind it. This guy's got such a rich history and has developed such a cult following. There was no possible way that first episode was not going to have the hype that the upcoming, approaching release date of The Phantom Menace, or the approaching release date of The Force Awakens. The hype of that new thing that was coming that we've all been waiting for. And like I said, for anybody who's been a Fett fan, they've been waiting for this even more, because we're talking about a guy, 6 minutes of screen time, however many lines of dialogue, appearance in the holiday special cartoon, Droids cartoon, and that's it. We also had years of Dark Horse comics and now Marvel comics expanding on the legend.
The Dark Horse comics that came out in the early 90s, which was a big part of my fanboy revival, that was the first introduction of Fett coming back, right?
Yes, that was the only place. So we were given the official, he got out of the Sarlacc pit moment.
Did it meet the hype for
in
you?
The comics, yes. In the show, no.
The Book of Boba Fett, it did not match the hype you were waiting for.
No, it did not.
Too much hype.
Too much. No. Let me just say this. Before we get into any further, I want to say straight off the bat, top of the thing here, I am enjoying the Book of Boba Fett. I am enjoying the show. I am enjoying the things that it's bringing to the Star Wars universe. I accepted the direction it's going in. But that being said, it's absolutely not what I was expecting. And now everybody's going to be like, well, you can't ever live up to what's in your head. You know what? To your point about the hype, you can to a point. We could have gone, and we can get into it a little bit later. But the bottom line is this is not the show Fett fans have been waiting for all these years. But it's what we got, and I'm going to enjoy the ride and get and see where it takes me.
You say it's not the show that you've been waiting for, but it's the show. It's the show, and I think that's why Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars film. And that is why I love the Book of Boba Fett, because there's a lot of you guys out there that listen to podcast shows. My good friend Jimmy Mac's show, for example, Rebel Force Radio, you guys listen to every single episode. You get caught up in the speculation. You get caught up in the hype. And then when it finally is born, when the film is released, you're like, oh, shit. That is not what I expected it to be.
I'll stop there. I do not buy into. I didn't buy into any speculation or any pre-hype. All I had in my mind after seeing him in the Mandalorian was, cool. We're gonna see the Boba Fett show where we see this big badass bounty hunter go out, collect his bounties, and be the beard bounty hunter that we all know him to be. That I wanted to see basically him just going on bounties every episode, which is what I thought the Mandalorian was going to be until Grogu came along and it took us in a whole different way, and it was fantastic. Boba Fett, like I said, all I really wanted to see was the escape from Sarlacc and getting bounties. Anything else that came after that, just icing on the cake for me. But, you know, and it does, like I said, I don't want to make anybody think I don't like the show. I am liking the show. Some of the choices, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting, but let's roll with it and see where it takes us. We still got 2 episodes left, so I'm reserving any final judgments until I see the payoff.
See, okay, now I've watched every episode 2 to 3 times, but you're saying for the season, for season 1, you said there's only 2 to 3 episodes left.
2 episodes left.
Two episodes left. See, now, to me, that's a little disappointing because I think they should run with it for as long as they can. I feel like as an outsider looking in, as a fan that's kind of, you know, living in my days like it's 1992, kind of by myself to some degree with my fandom, because I don't follow a lot of podcast shows and I don't get caught up in a lot of hype and all this and that. I think The Mandalorian was such a great success, not only because it was from the brainchild of Filoni and Favreau, and it was fans making a show, but there was no expectations, there was no hype behind it. It was brand new. But like you said, yeah,
that's my point. That is absolutely my point.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You're absolutely right. There was no expectation with the Mandalorian because this was a character we knew nothing about. So we had to learn about this character, and as the show rolls itself out, because everything in the Mandalorian was brand new. Like I said, Boba Fett has a 40-year legacy of being a cult character, cult favorite character, having so little screen time. There was this huge legacy behind him of expectations. We knew, or we thought what we knew Boba Fett was, and we thought that's what we saw in the season 2 of The Mandalorian, and that's what we were hoping to see continue. Win a different way, not a bad thing. It just was a little jarring at first, but I'm okay.
Now, when I first saw Attack of the Clones, well, you know what? Let's go back. I think that was the problem for a lot of people with the prequels, because you have all these legacy characters. You got Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Yoda, for example. And you have, and then you put out the prequels, and you're like, oh shit, that's not what I was thinking when I was creating these scenes in my sandbox with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan or what have you, or this isn't what I imagined the Clone Wars to be. Like for me, you have the Clone Wars, and it's like, okay, this is what Obi-Wan was talking to Luke about in A New Hope. This is a little different than what I thought, you know? Now, what was your take on, that's our first introduction of Boba Fett in the new era of Star Wars, right? So you have not 40 years at this point, but you have a young Boba Fett. What was your take on Attack of the Clones? Do you feel like you were satisfied from a Boba Fett fanboy perspective when you first saw
Attack of the Clones?
Boba and his dad Jango on screen?
But yeah, young Boba and Jango, I had no issue with. I was excited, actually. That I was like, cool, this is great. We learning some Boba backstory here, and seeing, you know, kind of what got the ball rolling for him and where he came from. And nothing in Attack of the Clones fazed me. I loved everything that was presented, and then how it continued on in the Clone Wars cartoon, and again in Rebels. You know, again, advancing the young Boba character and just seeing what he's gone through, leading up to where we see him in the holiday special and Empire Strikes Back.
So you've been happy with him all the way up, but you were hoping for more bounty hunting adventures, if you will.
Right. You know, yeah, because the last thing I think anybody wanted was good guy Boba Fett, nice guy Boba with a heart. You know, that's not what we were looking for, but that's okay. If people characters change over the years, and yeah, he's older, a little longer, you know, he's like I said, he's just done with it. Wants to find a nice retirement plan. find a nice palace to live in, live out the rest of his days instead of having to go try and get himself killed for some extra coin on the side. That's fine. That's fine. We can roll with that. It was just a bit jarring that was the direction the show went.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad. I can see your point of view. I can see your point of view. The reason why one of the things that I loved about the Book of Boba Fett was kind of the same reason why I love The Mandalorian. I love seeing classic characters come to life. Now, hey, chut, Andy from Miami. No, that's not Andy from Miami. That's Antonio from New Jersey. Thanks for watching tonight, man. I appreciate you and your Patreon support. But I feel like a lot of the fans complained about the Tusken Raiders. They're like, oh my God, the Tuskens are supposed to be vicious, mindless monsters like Clegg Lars had mentioned, in Attack of the Clones. But I'm like, well, I don't know. Are they really vicious, mindless monsters? If somebody took my wife, no matter what color their skin was, they would be a vicious, mindless monster, right? That's why Clegg Lars was attacked by the Tuskens. His wife was taken away. And Anakin even feels remorse because he murdered the women and the children. But I love seeing the Jawas come to life. I love seeing all these species that we've seen in the OT come back to life. And I think they've done a really, really fantastic job. And Sean, I know you're not bashing this stuff. I know you're a passionate fan and you see this stuff like I do. But like the job of the Hutt Palace recreation, I feel like that is like right out of Return of the Jedi.
Oh, it was brilliant. And to your point about the Sand People, I have no problem with life with the Sand People. We again, there's there are species in Star Wars that we only know so much about, and just the fact that they are still a savage type of a character, but they live their lives the way they know how to live their lives. The people complaining about the Sand People is not my issue with the Sand People scenes. It's the for me it was more the flow of the way the story played out in flashbacks. I felt like we could have skipped all the flashbacks and just started the show with him getting out of the Sarlacc, getting picked up by the Jawas, picked up by the Sand People, and just have the first few episodes be the Sand People story.
See,
and then,
Star Wars fans are much like sports fans. We are armchair quarterbacks, some of us more than others. And as an independent filmmaker, hobbyist making films, I should say, it's funny, like to hear you say that, like, we could have done without the flashback scenes. When I hear people make comments about the filmmaking procedure like that, I'm like, see, the pros can't even do it right. It is a very, very, very hard process to make.
There's a way to do it, though. If anybody's watched the CW's show Arrow, which is based on the DC Comics character Green Arrow, here's a character who the show starts off where he's been missing for 5 years, comes back, and then the entire run of the series is filled with flashbacks, filling in the storylines of what happened to him during those 5 years he was missing. That was done a certain way where it made sense because it always tied back in together and it flew. Now, in Book of Boba, it just seemed like, they just used the Bacta tank as an excuse to get to the flashbacks, which is fine, So there you go. They show him in the Bacta tank, which was the immediate sign they were about to head into a flashback, and it just seemed like too much Bacta stuff. So you could have just played out your Sand Person story and pick up the pace right after Return of the Jedi, and then catch up to where he gets into the palace and he's using the Bacta. He could have still been scarred while he's trying to be daimyo and doing his whole healing process. It was just a plot device to get to the flashbacks, which I get, and it's fine. It doesn't change the way what we learn about how his story unfolds. It just, the flow of it seemed a little choppy, in my opinion.
Well, a lot of people said that about The Force Among Us, It's funny. On my way back from Hawaii, or my way to Hawaii, one of those going to or going from, I watched Hugh Jackman, right? That's the actor that plays Wolverine, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to make sure that was clear because my memory doesn't serve me well when it comes to superhero actors because that is not really my that's not where my fandom is, right? So there was a movie that just came out with him that I watched, and he is going back in time by laying in a bath like this. And I just watched that movie, and it was so ironic because I'm like, this reminds me of that Hugh Jackman film I just watched.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing the trailer for that.
Yeah, I came out like within the last year, but it was very, very eerie because the similarity is very uncanny. I mean, it's very, very, very similar. Sean, I want to go back to your childhood. You're a little older than I am. My first memory, I want to say that I've brought with me through all these years of seeing Boba Fett. One of the things that I remembered in the early 90s when I revisited Star Wars and fell in love with it all over again was that card back. That first Star Wars card back, Boba Fett on a Star Wars logo card.
He's shooting his little fireball.
Yeah, and it was weird because it was kind of like it wasn't a movie scene. It was on a Star Wars card. It wasn't on an Empire card. It was almost like a hand-drawn image of him. That was the memory that I took with me into my teenage years. So I would say the toy is what I remember the most. What is your first memory of Boba Fett?
The holiday special was my first memory of Boba Fett. Absolutely the holiday special. Because I was one of the few people that in my neighborhood that even remembered that the holiday special was even a thing. You know, because I remember seeing it. And then I would go to talk to my friends about it, and they didn't see it. And they're just like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh my God, don't you, this character, it's on the dinosaur and the cartoon, and nobody knew what I was talking about. And then when I finally got to see him again in The Empire Strikes Back, I was like, yes, this guy's so good. And then the figure, I mean, come on, the figure. It's just, I mean, seriously. Interesting thing about the card back that you brought up. When they updated the card back to the one where he's on the skiff, in Jedi.
Yeah.
There's the original one, but the Jedi picture. What most people don't realize is that picture of him was pretty much almost just from like maybe the cod piece up or something like that. So when they did the card back, they had an artist draw the rest of his legs just so that it would fit the card back. So it's like half photo and half drawn.
Now, speaking about the card back and the story behind Return of the Jedi, now, if I might be totally wrong, but this almost looks like an artist rendition of Boba Fett on this first card back.
It could be. It also could look like something taken from, when they were trying on the costume for the first time.
Yeah, you even know that. Well, of course. So when they had the costume on, he was the white.
Right. Yeah.
Prototype.
Well, obviously the fireball on there is drawn on. That's not that anything.
Yeah, but for some reason, man, that was one of the things that stuck with me. Now I shared this too. The holiday special. I did not watch that until. I picked up a bootleg copy in January 1994 is when I had seen that. This chat is great because Sean, I am going to throw you under the bus a little later on. And to put it in a Star Wars sense.
Is that right? You gonna throw me under the bus? Okay.
Not throw you under the bus as I've done to you in the past on Machtails from the Cantina, but we're gonna change this segment to. Can you survive being thrown under the sandcrawler? We're going to play a little Know Your Fett trivia, but we're not going to do that quite yet. Sean, one of the things that always baffled my mind, and I don't know about you guys out there, this still bothers me today. Why do they call them Mandos? Because my spelling isn't the greatest to begin with, so every time I spell Mandalorian, I spell Mandalorian because they call them Mandos. So how come they're called Mandos instead of Mandas? Why? Do you know that?
Because people are lazy. We don't like talking long words.
Manda. You know, or they should have spelled it Mandalorian.
It's just a lazy way of pluralizing. Mando. It's a nickname. It's a lovable nickname.
Is it like tomato kind of thing?
Tomato tomato. Yeah, I don't know if there's any real rhyme or reason. It just sort of evolved into that as a shorthand version of saying it.
I think you're right about that. I think it evolved, and it was already Mando, but when it came time to write out Mandalorian, going back to Attack of the Clones, I know
it could have just been the shorthand way of being the plural of Mando. It's a bunch of Mandos.
Man, you could say Mando. Well, I don't know. Mandas. It sounds. I don't know. Does Manda sound? I don't know. Either way, I will forever spell.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What did you think of the Escape from the Sarlacc scene?
When I saw it, I saw it late. Okay, I saw it about 5 days after it was released. Saw it very, very late at night in Hawaii on my laptop screen, not on my 4K television like I wish I would have seen it. I love the way that it was shot. But here's my complaint. I wish I would have seen decaying bodies of the people that were thrown in to the Sarlacc during the skiff scene.
The bottom line is there was
no stormtrooper on the skiff in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, that stormtrooper could have came from anywhere. We all know that Sarlacc has had many meals over the years.
Yes, right. We know that skiff has been there before, right?
So you're right. So there's no real reason to try to explain why is there a stormtrooper there. It could come from any number of reasons. How cool would it have been? And I'm fine. And what we got is what we got, and it's fine. I moved on. I'm happy with it. But how cool would it have been to start the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett showing like the burning wreckage of the sail barge? And a few of the characters that survived trying to crawl their way out of the wreckage. And then the camera just sort of pans its way into the Sarlacc to find Boba in his resting place.
Well,
and
I guess to add to why, my guess would be because more time has passed. More time had passed.
Well, that's just it. Then you could do a time wipe showing that the time has passed, and you see that
we have a future filmmaker on our hands here.
So it was just the future film, or not future film. I've made films already, but this is just a filmmaker brain in my hand. So just making my own choices. Of course, it's never going to live up. Nothing that Star Wars comes out with from now until eternity is ever going to live up to what's in here. But it's okay, because as long as it's a good story and it makes sense, I will enjoy the hell out of it and make the most out of it. I'm always up for more content, and I'm always, just excited to see where they take us in this world. It's beautiful.
One of the things that scared me, was Captain Kennedy said, "Oh, we're done with Star Wars, the old Star Wars. We're going to go on a new adventures with completely new people." I'm like, well, it's not Star Wars then. You're just taking a name and you're kind of milking the franchise based on the name. Now, okay, if there is new Star Wars without whatever we've seen over the last, since 1977, the thing that it will have going for it is that there's no expectations or no hype.
Well, that's what The Mandalorian was.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's what The Mandalorian was.
And to your favorite, Rogue One.
Yeah, and Rogue One was a little tricky, right? Because you definitely, I was watching when I was in bed last week for 4 days. I was watching a lot of Rogue One interviews on YouTube. I was catching up with shit that's 6 years old, right? And I'm like, wow, I'm glad I didn't watch any of this stuff 6 years ago, because I would have been caught up in a hype. And I don't know if Rogue One would have matched the hype that was waiting for me around the corner. But Gareth Edwards said, when you made Rogue One, when he made Rogue One, it was a little tricky because you have to have familiar characters. You have to try to create something new. There was, it was a challenge, and I think, but they pulled it off, and I think I think the Mandalorian is very much like that, because
First season of Mandalorian, right? The first season of Mandalorian did absolutely that. We all went into it no expectations because we didn't know the character, we didn't know any other new characters, and so it took us for an awesome ride through the season. Surprised the hell out of everybody with the Baby Yoda, which I think I'm the person you were referring to that said they overproduced the Baby Yoda stuff,
Yes.
and that's correct. You know, they've made it to the point where if it's got Baby Yoda on it, I will avoid it and not even look at it to buy if it's got Baby Yoda on it. I want to see Mando. I can't Google Mandalorian without having to sift through 60 pictures of Grogu before I get to a picture of the Mandalorian. It's frustrating.
Grogu is the Darth Maul, you know, the marketing vehicle for the.
Well, and you can't be mad at it either because the public latched onto it. They ran with it. That's just how this shit works.
Yeah, I mean, everybody fell in love with Grogu right from the start.
Can't be mad.
But again, too, that comes from everybody having the love of Yoda. I mean, even though Yoda was CGI in the prequels, people still loved Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
People love Frank Oz. And I think that love for Grogu kind of had carried over. Do you have this is going to be hard for you, I know, but you got to pick one moment. What is your all-time favorite Boba Fett moment? It could be from the holiday special, Attack of the Clones, the Book of Boba Fett, Empire Strikes Back. What is like and it could fit in your top 3, but what's that one moment where you're like, man, I love that scene. Love that scene.
Oh boy. Wow. Tough question for the simple fact that we're dealing with small bites of Boba that we were handed over the years. So, but there are just certain things that I guess you could say always made me remember Boba Fett in the sense of his coolness. Like in The Empire Strikes Back, you know, just the sound of his spurs when he's walking. And the moment when he's walking down the hallway, taking Han and Carbonite to Slave One, and
Slave One, yes, they got rid of the name. We're living in the new era now.
Right? Yeah, I'm done buying the ship as long as it doesn't say Slave One. That's just my little personal protest.
No, the ship you stole at the White Elephant gift last
says Slave One.
So that was probably the last time Slave One was made.
That'll probably be the last one I get. But when he's going down the hallway with Han and Carbonite on his way to Slave One, and Luke is coming around the corner with R2, and he ducks back real quick because he sees them going down the hallway. When Boba Fett crosses that hallway where Luke is hiding, he turns his head just for a second and then goes back to walking down the hallway, which meant he saw Luke. He fucking saw him. you know?
Right.
And that's why as soon as Luke comes around, he's like, "You motherfucker, I got you, man." You know.
It was funny. I was reading something about. I was doing a lot of deep diving into Mark Hamill's interviews from yesteryear as well, and he had the idea. I don't know if you ever heard this. He had the idea to make Boba Fett Luke Skywalker's mother, and this was before he knew Darth Vader was his dad. And he goes, obviously.
Did you say mother?
Yeah, mother. Yes. That was like his original idea on.
So what was Mark drinking that night?
You know, I don't know. You know, if he was hanging out with Carrie, God only knows. God only knows what they were drinking. God knows what they were drinking that night. But I thought.
When you look at, like you're talking about, you know, people complaining about the Book of Boba Fett. And, you know, and yeah, I might have some of those same thoughts, but at the end of the day, I'm just going along with it. I kind of wrote down like a little list of some of the common things that I heard people saying, you know, like the show's too slow, nothing happens. True. And then the argument against that is like, well, it's a TV show. Things move slowly. Then in a movie, it's got to play out.
Yeah.
And that's true too. But there's 2 episodes left. You got a lot of loose ends you got to tie up here.
Yeah, right. I was disappointed to hear that from you, first and foremost.
And those last 2, yeah. And the funny thing is we know episode 5 was an episode of The Mandalorian and not an episode of Boba Fett. Even before that episode aired, I was talking to Alfie. I'm like, yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff we gotta wrap up before this season ends, and we only got 3 episodes to do it. Then I saw the episode 5, which was amazing, and then I'm like, well, now we only have 2 episodes to wrap everything up. It's like they could. And again, here's the filmmaker brain wheels turning again. They could have saved all that Mandalorian storyline for season 3 and started episode 5 with where it ended, with Fennec Shan showing up to hire Mando to help Boba. And then the rest of the episode could have just been about Fennec and Boba going around building their army of muscle, if you will, that they're wanting to get. And then when season 3 Mandalorian rolls around, we could find out what was Mando doing at that moment when Shan came to hire him and stuff like that.
If you're going to do a flashback scene, why not have episode 5 of the book of Boba Fett, a flashback scene of the Mandalorian? Now,
as a Boba Fett fan, excited about the series, I feel like I got gypped an episode of Boba Fett.
I know, I could see that for sure, because it was funny. I asked you, hey, because everybody was ranting and raving. Oh my God, I saw it episode 5. It was amazing. And I'm like, yeah, it's amazing because you guys were complaining about the book of Boba Fett. You got an episode of The Mandalorian. Now you're happy. Now all is right with the world. But I'm sitting there.
It's a little funny when people are saying that the best episode of Boba Fett has no Boba Fett.
Yes. Yeah, I thought, and looking at it from a mutual fan of both TV series, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, man. Yeah, this is a great episode, but this isn't from a filmmaker standpoint, that was an episode of The Mandalorian. That was not an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I understand you're trying to tell the story, but I feel like maybe who knows what they were thinking? Were they thinking,
other than the last 5 minutes of Fennec Shan showing up to hire him to help Boba, what else in that episode had anything to do with the story they're trying to tell about Boba Fett right now?
Yeah, exactly.
And I could be out of line. There could be a lot of things that related in that episode that we might see in the next 2 episodes.
Here's a thought too. Maybe it wasn't because Jon Favreau is heavily he's written the Book of Boba Fett. This is kind of his involvement, like Filoni had on the first series, the Mandalorian. So a lot of people go, oh, well, why isn't Dave Filoni directing these episodes? Maybe Dave is like, you know what? I'm not going to touch the Book of Boba Fett because I know how fans truly feel about it. He's like, I'm going to stick.
That could be the case. That could very well be the case. I will say this. Watching season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian, after every episode, I was so jacked that I couldn't wait for the next episode. I hadn't been that excited about anything Star Wars storyline related since Return of the Jedi. For me, not that I didn't like any of the stuff, but as far as what got me excited, that's the excitement level that I was at. The Book of Boba Fett, with each passing episode, because there's a lot of buildup happening with taking over the palace and dealing with the Hutts and dealing with the bar chick lady from Flashdance and the Wookiee and all this other stuff and the Mos Vespas. I mean, all that stuff is being built up and leading towards something, and that's why a lot of people probably feel like there's not much really happening. I mean, how much action have we seen Fett actually do, except blow up one space ninja on a
right.
And what else?
Yeah, where the Mandalorian was just jam-packed with action, and the Book of Boba Fett is, it's slower, it's more story-driven, and this is based on a character that we've been waiting to hear from for the last, minus Attack of the Clones, for the last 40 years.
So now you're basically saying exactly what I started saying.
Exactly. I want to fill in two thoughts before we move on. My complaint with Attack of the Clones, when I first saw it with regards to Boba Fett, was where the fuck is Mandalore? I remember all this literature about Boba Fett is a bounty hunter from the planet Mandalore, and Attack of the Clones takes us to Camino and Geonosis. So I was a little turned off by that not being fulfilled, and that is why I loved episode 5 of the book, because of course it went to Mandalore, but it tied into the Mandalorian, Din, instead of Boba Fett. So I'm thinking there's a couple.
I guess for me, I wasn't disappointed about not seeing Mandalore because they treated Jango as the same kind of bounty hunter character that Boba Fett became. So in my brain, he was just a simple man trying to make his way through the universe. So he was never associated with one particular place. He was a traveling person, just gun for hire. So he might have been from Mandalore, but that was not his home.
Patreon member John Zancanaro, how many times have they say Mando? Yeah, because that's the drinking word. With that drinking word, we must be drinking lots. Yes, amen to that, and cheers to you, my friend. I'm going to get a refill on. This is the wheat. And Sean, before we move on to my favorite moment of Boba Fett has got to be, John Zancanaro from Wisconsin. I'm not counting at this point, but it's a lot. Hopefully, you're just drinking along with us at this point. I
think we'll probably have to take a pretty big swig just to catch up, because
you got to do a Rich Brendel, Patreon member and brother Rich Brendel. He always does the beer chugs. So at this point, 21 and over, remember, drink responsibly.
Well, I'm gonna take a big swig of my Scott Pilgrim.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Scott Pilgrim, Coke Zero.
Coke Zero. Okay, cheers to you, my friend. My favorite moment, my all-time favorite moment from Boba Fett is Empire Strikes Back. Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold. And I have to say the reason why that scene is so great, because John Williams' film score at that point, beautiful, as it always is. And that backdrop for Cloud City, that sunset that we get to witness here in the Midwest, there's just something so nice about that. But I got to tell you, man, it drives me mad that Tamora Morrison, as passionate and as great as his acting is in the Book of Boba Fett, those lines that he re-recorded of the original voice are so fucking sloppy. I think he might have chugged a couple beers before he did that. Or maybe he wanted to get to the bar and he wanted to wrap up his workday.
Any of that could be possible.
That's it right there. That is my favorite Boba Fett moment out of all the Boba Fett scenes that we have seen before. Sean, what is your Holy Grail Boba Fett piece in the collection? Holy Grail is what you're searching for. But let me ask you that.
Well, yeah, the Holy Grail I don't have. We all know what that is. It's the prototype.
The prototype. I know there's like 12 floating around from Kenner and Place.
I'll never have it, and I'm okay with it.
What is your number one piece in your collection? Your number one Fett piece? Favorite piece?
The original figure. The original
figure, loose, just from
the original figure. I mean, there's several. I have hundreds of Fett items,
I'm sure,
obviously, that are probably way cooler looking. From statues to this thing hanging on the wall behind me, and I've got even not Fett but Fett related. I've got the life-size replica of Han Solo Carbonite that was cast from the original mold. I forget the name of the company that made them back in the 90s. But, I have that as my, main conversation starter piece, I like to call it. Of course, all my helmets that I've worked on over the years. But I have to say, probably my favorite is always going to be the original Kenner Vintage.
Now, Sean, going back to the Mando costumes, when we filmed you in August of 2006, God, that was a long time ago. For the Force Among Us, we filmed you doing the Tada scene with the Boba Fett costume on. I think that was the last time I saw you wear the original Boba Fett.
The original Fett.
You have all these great Mandalorian mashup costumes. Do you see yourself wearing the original Fett costume anytime?
Well, I no longer fit it, so there's that. But yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't see myself now everywhere. I remember I had already acquired most of the parts for a Jango. After that, we filmed that, and in fact, some of that was, I think, on display in the background. But I never quite finished it, and then I ended up starting the mashups, and it's just been that ever since. And it's kind of like, between groups like the 501st and the Rebel Legion, seeing a Boba Fett or a Stormtrooper at a convention is like white noise because it's so commonplace. I guess I've leaned towards the mashups more because they stand out, and you know how much I hate attention.
Oh yeah, you can't stand it. You can't stand it. I got my brother Tyler is behind the scenes. He said rumor is Filoni. See, rumors. See, that's the RFR fan in you. All that speculation and rumors. Rumor is Filoni is slated to direct an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. If I could guess, my instincts tell me he's going to direct the finale episode of Book of Boba Fett. And Tyler, if you don't mind, there's some people in the chat. If you point them out as Patreon members, or if it's pertaining to what we're talking about tonight, go ahead and throw it up on the screen. Like you have been. When was the last time, Sean, that you wore the "This is the way"? This is the way, like a bantha.
This is the way. Yeah, like a bantha.
Like a bantha, yes.
Like a bantha.
My daughter's a huge fan of the banthas.
I think this is a new dance we should start for Star Wars. Like a bantha.
Yeah,
like a
bantha. My daughter loves banthas. And I'm hoping that she will take time out of her busy day and playtime to sit down and watch the Book of Boba, because the banthas in there are like we have never seen before. The funny thing is, she was looking over my shoulder the episode where the bantha got shot. Thank God she didn't see that scene, because I was like, oh my God, cover your eyes. Sean, when was the last time you put on the original Boba Fett costume?
The last time would have probably been Celebration 4? 3 or 4. Celebration 3 or 4 would have been the last time.
That is a long time ago. That is a long time ago. And then from there, it was, well, you kind of started doing the Mandalorian mashups from Celebration 2, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, it wasn't until Celebration 3 when I did Hey,
John, I like that idea, and we will do that together. We will be recording from the rental house that we're renting. Sean, you will be there. John, you will be there. We will do that on Machtails from the Cantina live at Celebration. We will all
Somebody needs to drop a dance beat to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got to get your brother out there to play some music for. But yeah. Well, why would you wear the original Boba Fett costume when you have all these new ideas of a Mando costume?
Yeah, and the ideas never stop coming. So I'm always starting another one. I haven't started another one for a long time. The last one the
newest one is the Mandalorian, right?
That was the latest one that I did, right? And I've got ideas for 3 or 4 more, but man, the wife will kill me if I keep cranking these things out, because it's like, why you're gonna make these new ones? You never wear the old ones. I'm like, well, I do, because all the ones that I've made serve purposes at different times of the year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you need
got the holiday ones, got the sports ones.
You need a Valentine Fett now, you know?
Again, I got Easter, I got Shamrock, I got Christmas. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Okay, so I got to ask you a either or question. Mando or the book? Mando or the book?
Mando.
Which
hurts me. It pains me to say. I got to be perfectly honest with you. Because
he's the OG, right? Boba Fett is the OG.
He's the OG. I should be knocked head over heels with the Book of Boba Fett. And I'm disappointed in myself on a level for not being that way. But because, as we talked about before, that character carries with it a certain level of expectation that if they didn't hit it right on the head, it was going to disappoint. When, like I said, I keep going back to when he showed up in Mandalorian season 2 and did all that badassery with the stormtroopers. That was the Fett we were expecting, not this guy who wants to chill out in the palace and not do anything. You know, for lack of a better
term. Wants to keep the peace, make the deals, go down.
Right, but I get that. I can understand after getting knocked into the Sarlacc and fighting your way out to be like, you know what, F this. There's got to be a better way to live. That part, that's why I'm just letting the show take me where it wants to take me, because I can follow along with that storyline and be happy with it. But I gotta say, when Robert Rodriguez did an interview before the show came on, was like, fans are gonna love this show. In fact, it over delivers. I don't know if people.
Yeah, I don't know if it over delivers. It sounds like somebody that's defending.
Right, you know, when you look, I mean, just case in point, I mean, when Mandalorian was out, it was always one of the top #1 streaming shows going on at the moment. You know, right now, Book of Boba Fett, I think, is like in the lower top 10, #8 or something like that. You know, Cobra Kai is kicking its ass, metaphorically speaking, pun intended. But Cobra Kai is an awesome show. That's right. There's not even a debate with that. But again, I want to just make it clear: I don't hate the Book of Boba Fett. I am enjoying and loving where it's going, and it's just obviously it wasn't the show I was hoping for, but I am still enjoying where it's taking me, and I'm enjoying its own little world building that it's doing. Little things that I can nitpick about are irrelevant to my enjoyment of the show.
Well, you know, Sean, I think that is one of the things that I love about you. One of the many things I love about you is you are an open-minded fan. I know, you know, because you're a couple years older, you're kind of like Jimmy Mack. You're the, you know, the New Hope, you know, kid. That way, you were 5 years old when that film came out, or close to it. That was me for Empire Strikes Back. But it sounds like you're welcoming the Book of Boba Fett with open arms. Now, there's a lot of different actors that had played and portrayed Boba Fett over the years. We are going to play a little game, but before we play a little game, I keep teasing this. Before we play a little game, Sean, I want to ask you, what is your greatest memory, your greatest moment? For me, I would say having beers with Jeremy Bullock after he told me where he was going to be hanging out, and it was just him, David Prowse, Kenny Baker, Garrick Hagan. It was like just them. It wasn't a hangout with a bunch of fans. And that was my favorite moment, aside from filming Jeremy in The Force Within Us. Great moments that I've had with him. He's my favorite, my favorite person that played Boba Fett. What is your #1 moment meeting somebody that portrayed Boba? Could be Daniel Logan. Could be Tamora Morrison.
Daniel Logan, Tamora Morrison, Jeremy Bullock, met them all fantastic. And also Dickie Beers and all the other stunt guys that have played, you know, Boba over the years. You can't beat Mr. Bullock. You really can't. I mean, the man gave so much of himself to the Star Wars fans and the fans of Boba Fett. You don't get much better than that. I remember probably my best moments with him. Two of them in particular. One, when I first met him on the Man Behind the Masks tour at Chicago Comic-Con before it was called Wizard World. It was probably the same night you had drinks with them or something like that, but it was Jeremy Bullock and Kenny Baker and Peter Mayhew and David Cross. I had brought my camcorder and I did like my own little impromptu interview with them while I was getting their autograph and so forth. And just that conversation that went with them, because it wasn't like a long line for the tables where they were sitting. So I got to just sit there and chill and just BS, whether it be Star Wars or about other things, you know. And one of the things I got from him that day was a really cool print that he said he got from a French artist, where it was Boba Fett fighting the xenomorphs from Alien. So he signed that for me. So that's like one of the cool, unique mashup piece that I've got signed by Jeremy Bullock, if you will. And then the second moment with Jeremy Bullock was when we were filming, I think, for the second Force Around.
Yeah, it's Celebration. You came and said hello to him before they opened the convention floor.
Right. Yeah. Talking to him before we shot that scene where I was wearing the All-American Fett.
That was a special moment. I was going back. I was putting together a Patreon piece today, and I went back and I looked at some old footage of The Force Within Us, and it was just so cool. As a fan, speaking from a fanboy's perspective, a hobbyist filmmaker, it was so cool that we were able to interview him for The Force Within Us, and he was just so gracious with his time. I don't think, a lot of people are like that. But again, I said Ashley Eckstein was so great with her time. Dan Manson and I have become friends over the years. And
in the chat, who's AM? Who's that?
It's Antonio from New Jersey. Tell
Antonio that if he's going to Celebration, the Mandalorian will be there.
Yeah, the Mandalorian has to. That's got to be his favorite. I'm sure that is. I know that's show producer Michael Wistock's favorite.
Just let me do a little plug if I can. There's gonna be an event Wednesday night before Celebration opens called the Alderaan Idol. It's a karaoke event at, I forget where the location is. You can probably find it on one of the Celebration pages. It's basically Star Wars karaoke, or just regular karaoke, but with a group of Star Wars fans. The Mandalorian always shows up, and we'll sing a few tunes there. So if anybody's interested in coming out for that, you can. Like I said, it's called Alderaan Idol, sort of, and it's a competitive karaoke Star Wars night thing before Celebration.
It's the sequel to Force-Chilla, is what it is.
It used to be called Force-Chilla, yes, which they had to change because Coachella gave them a cease and desist.
Oh my God! Hey, that's a Machtails exclusive right here. That is crazy. Hey, of course, it's the music business coming down hard on your ass. It's not Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm has still been great. It's still been great about the fans doing what they're doing. But yeah, of course, Coachella. Sean, we are going to play a little game. It's time to play Know Your Fets.
Oh,
Sean, this is also called Can You Survive Being Thrown Underneath a Sandcrawler?
Yeah, let's see. Now you're going to try to make me think. And it's been a long day of throwing cable around in the snow. So, forgive me if I have a little.
That's okay. These are some deep cuts, but Sean, I have faith in you. I have a feeling that you might fail this test.
Probably will.
But I'm going to throw it at you anyway, man. I did it. I threw Dan Manson under the bus on the Christmas episode with Christmas history because he is a historian of all sorts of things.
Well, if it's based on anything like your Pictionary, things we got to draw for Pictionary, I know I'm in trouble.
Well, my Rogue One trivia that I did on Machtails too. I stumped a lot of people. That is my geeky side coming out.
How do you Pictionary the Jedi prophecy? Seriously.
You have to use your drunken wisdom.
Or how do you Pictionary the actress who plays Padme's handmaiden?
Rose Byrne, baby.
Right. How do you Pictionary Rose Byrne?
No, you do a rose and you do a fire. You do a rose and a fire. Okay, so who was the person that worked for ILM that portrayed Boba Fett in the added Jabba's palace scenes? He did a lot of panels at Celebration.
Yeah, he had glasses and a mustache.
Okay, I'll give it to you. Is that him? Okay, yeah, that's him. Don Bees or Don Buys. I don't know. Don Buys, but you said glasses and a mustache. Okay. Give him a point. Give him a point. Okay, now you said a name before, but let me give you a clue. This is not the guy that did his stunts in the Return of the Jedi Sarlacc scenes. It's not who you mentioned earlier.
Okay, so it's not Dickie Beers.
No, and I kind of thought it was until I started doing a deep dive.
There was another guy. There was another guy that did the stunts in Jedi. I don't know his name. I can't think of his name.
Glenn Randall Jr. Who also played there's Glenn right there.
Yeah.
Also played a Endor rebel trooper, but I could not find him. I could not find his image for that. But yes, he there he is.
Yeah,
there.
he's one of the he's one of the lesser known stunt doubles that portrayed Fett. But yes, I was aware that there was somebody.
It's funny. He was the lesser known, but he was the one that did like the ultimate stunt.
Yeah.
He was the one that flew. But of course, Dickie Beers. I wish I had a name like Beers, but Macht means force. But Dickie. Yeah, he looks like Elvis. He does. He's got the shaggy hair.
He does look like Elvis Fett.
Looks like Elvis at the end of Elvis's era there. Sean, you're going to know this one. What rebel pilot portrayed Boba, and in what scene?
What rebel pilot?
What rebel pilot portrayed? Come on, you got it. This is an easy one.
I know it's an easy one, but I think you're throwing me off. Say that again. What
rebel pilot? But what snow speeder pilot?
Oh, John Morton.
John Morton. Okay, what scene?
Oh, that probably was when Jeremy Bulloch was playing the Imperial officer.
No, and I actually read about this. This is an interview from Jeremy. Jeremy was working in theater, and he couldn't make it to the set of Empire Strikes Back on time because he was double dipping. And so John had to step in, and it was the corridor scene. We showed that photo earlier, where right after Han Solo gets tortured. What if he doesn't?
Okay, I got you.
I can't remember. I can't remember. What?
That's the one where
he means a lot to me. That was
where he stands up to Vader like he's no good to me dead.
Yes. That was the one. That was John Morton, and I love how John plays him because he kind of gets that like shoulder walk with the head down. He's almost like a football Fett at that point. Who was the original voice of Boba? Original voice in Empire Strikes Back, not the holiday special. I will ask that question next.
I got his signature, and I can't remember what his name is.
You got his signature. You got his signature in person?
I think so, or maybe I'm confusing him with. I think I'm confusing him with the original voice of the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, Clive Rebel.
I'm confusing him with Clive.
Okay. Because
this guy was kind of a known voiceover artist, if I remember right.
Jason Wingreen was the original voice of
right.
Boba Fett. I do have his autograph, but I paid for it. And I know you're not a fan of paying for autographs. I, on the other hand, collected a handful.
I don't have a problem. I mean, obviously, I pay for my share of autographs, but I like to meet the person when I get them.
Yes, I do have Jason Wingreen's autograph, but it's actually on the wall over there. But I am not going to do what I did during the first episode that we did live a year ago from tomorrow, is I walked away from the screen. I will not do that during this episode. Okay, who wore the test pilot for Ben Burt? This is the white prototype costume.
Oh, the prototype. Who wore the prototype costume? That was Joe Johnston.
No, it wasn't Joe Johnston. No. This is Dwayne Dunham. That does not look like Joe.
Oh, I guess I know Joe designed it, but I thought he was in that video.
No, hey, you're now Machtails is educational right now. That's good. Yeah, Dwayne Dunham was the assistant film editor. I wonder what that job was. Is that getting coffee or is that? Yeah, the assistant film editor. There he is, right there.
No, that's the guy that brings the editor of the reels to do the actual editing.
Brings the reel. Yeah, he does the labor. he does the physical.
Right.
Labor. Okay, Sean, you said the first time that you had introduced to Boba Fett, and of course that was most of the world was introduced to Boba Fett was during a holiday special. Who was the voice?
I don't know.
That would be Don Franks. Don Franks. Daniel Logan and Tamora Morrison are from the same place. So I like the continuity there. They hire actors born and raised from where?
Polynesia. Because they are more like
it's close to Polynesia, but it's not.
I know he likes to hang out in them Polynesian spas.
It would be. I'll give you a clue. Lord of the Rings.
Oh, New Zealand.
New Zealand, yes. They are New Zealand born and raised. They're New Zealand actors, yes. They are both from the same place. And I have to say that continuity on hiring actors from the same area, that is brilliant. And of course, as we know, a lot of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith were filmed in Australia, and New Zealand is right before, that's the place right before I went on my honeymoon to Australia. So that makes sense. Last question for you. You should know this, but I don't know if you were part of Jeremy's whole interview this would be spilled from the person he is related to. That's a clue.
That Jeremy was related to?
Jeremy Bullock is the half-brother of what behind-the-scenes Star Wars legend that also appeared in The Force Within Us.
Oh, what was his name? The guy that he played an ATST driver, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'll give it to you. You started it that way. I'll give it to you. Hey, Robert Watts. He is the half-brother.
Yes.
Half-brother. There he is, right there. Robert Watts, the half-brother of Jeremy Bullock. For the longest time, my memory was telling me that he was the brother-in-law of Jeremy Bullock. I knew that they were related, and the way that I found out that they were related was by interviewing Robert Watts in The Force Within Us. So I will go back and unearth that complete interview with Robert Watts, who is still with us. And I will make that a Patreon exclusive for you guys and Inside the Vault. Sean, I want to thank you so much for your time, your friendship, all your camaraderie.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers to you, man. Cheers to you. I wish you were here in person right now. Remember,
I know that's what we were planning on doing, but you had to go ahead and get that COVID, so you got the cooties. I
feel like I have the cooties. It's like you don't want to announce it to people, but at the same time you do. And Rich Brendel says, wow, he is far more generous than when he did the Rogue One Machtails trivia. Yes,
that's because he wants to stay my friend.
I threw everybody under the sand crawler during the Rogue One trivia, but it was Mock's revenge because I failed at that trivia game.
Look, I've been, obviously because I'm a diehard Fett person. It's just because I love all the stories that are revolving around Fett. I didn't always necessarily dive into the minutia of every single last person that put the armor on. Although I'm aware of them, I don't memorize the names like the players on a football team or something like that. Just the main ones.
Well, I think that I don't know what it is, but I think when the prequels came out, I just wanted to know so much about the background characters and the backstories and whatnot. And I think for some reason, I don't know, maybe I was reading The Insider all those years that kind of really geeked me out. Sean, are you going to join us for the after show green room?
I'll stick around for that. I've always been, like I said, when it comes to that stuff, I've always been the visual guy. I don't really read the novels, but I read the comic books because it has pictures, because I'm silly, like childish like that. And then it has to be movies or TV shows for me to really hold my attention and learn. That's where I learn most of my stuff. You know, it's from
Yeah, I would say like with the books, you know, as much as I love books, I don't read enough books, you know. But I love
it. I don't read books. I don't read books with no pictures.
I got to see the visuals. Got to see the visuals, you know. All right, Sean, hey, thanks again for being a host on Machtails from the Cantina. We will see you at the Green Room after party. And remember, guys, you can be a member, Patreon member, and join us in the Green Room after party. And you know what? I got to share this off. I got to show this off. Not share this off, but show this. This is a Rogue One VHS copy. I like to think I'm the only one that owns this on VHS. This was part of a White Elephant gift. I do this segment on Mocktails from the Cantina called Inside the Wampa Cave. And I like to think my collection is as big as Sean's, maybe not as big as I want to say Sir Steve, but that's a different Steve. Steven Sansweet's mega collection, who is the Guinness Book of World Records collector. Each episode I take you behind the scenes and I share a piece and I talk about it. And you know, you get to see my collection virtually, if you will, because that is the kind of day and age we're living in. And you might not live in Illinois. And if you live in Illinois, maybe someday you will have a beer inside the Wampa Cave or a beverage of your choice for that matter. So, hey guys, I want to thank you for tuning in on episode 13, the first show of the year. Happy Brew Year to you guys. I want to thank my guests, Sean Hynes, my old friend, and Todd, I want to say Sedlacek, but that's not correct. New show producer, and also thank my show producers, Michael Wistock and Kurt Holman. And we will catch you guys next time on Mocktails from the Cantina. Thank you so much, Tyler. Thank you so much, Patreon members. And thank you guys who were just tuning in, watching, and drinking along with us. We will see you guys next time. So long, everybody.